What's up everyone, my name's Zane and welcome to my results from 10 hours of Abyssal Demons. So going into this I had 85 attack, 97 strength, 84 defense and 96 hit points, and I finished off getting 2 attack levels. And the only other thing to mention is that I didn't use an arc light for this because I was doing them for 10 hours, I used an Abyssal whip instead. With all of that covered though, let's go ahead and get right into the loot. So the loot for this one came out to a surprising 13.3 mil with 4 Abyssal whips in total, which really make up the bulk of the loot here because they're worth 12.2 mil and the rest of the loot is just worth 1.1 mil. Aside from that though, with the other loot we just got a few Abyssal Demon heads, a few basic runes and a lot of different herbs along with 7 ancient shards and 3 separate pieces of a dark totem. And there are a few things to quickly note about this. The first one is we got super lucky with the whips. On average you'd get 2 across 10 hours, not 4. We got incredibly lucky and it's basically doubled our loot tab. And then the other thing to mention, which should be pretty obvious, is the basic loot from Abyssal Demons, if you don't get lucky, is really bad. So they're a high variance monster and it just so happened that we got super lucky. With all of that said though, let's go ahead and get into the stats. So starting things off with the experience, you can see it's around about the average that you might expect for a normal Slayer monster, actually just slightly above that. But it's important to note that if you were to use an arc light unlike me, you'd actually get around 10k more experience, and obviously if you're a higher level and on a Slayer task, even more than that. Which basically means that if you have a lot of arc light charges, these are above average for a Slayer monster because of how powerful that weapon is. In terms of the loot, we did get super lucky and managed to get a profit per hour of 1.3 mil, which is crazy. But with average luck, you'd actually pull in a profit per hour much closer to 700k, which puts this again on the average for Slayer monsters really in terms of making money. They're very similar to things like gargoyles and Kurasks, with the key difference being that they're a very high variance monster because all of their loot is tied up in whips. So if you get a lot of whips, you'll do really well, and if you're not very lucky, then it might be an idea to skip these altogether. In terms of the additional stats, do keep in mind that that profit per kill is heavily inflated by the fact that I got the 2 extra whips, so you basically want to halve that for an average across 10 hours, so they'd on average drop around 5k per kill instead of 10. And again, if you're on a Slayer task and using an arc light, you can expect to get anywhere up to 20 or 30 more kills per hour, maybe even a bit more if you're maxed. And finally, because we're in the catacombs, we did get 7 ancient shards in total, which would give you 2000 arclight charges and 3 dark totem pieces. The only thing to say about this is I don't think these drop enough ancient shards to sustain using an arclight there indefinitely, but if you are going to kill them then you should definitely do it in the catacombs just to get a few more charges of your arclight and help to sustain it a bit more. And just to briefly discuss the method as well, I found it to be quite AFK and pretty enjoyable. Basically Abyssal Demons have a really high health pool and they don't really do a lot of damage. So while you can bring Guffin Serenis Saradoom and Godsword, which I did do, you don't really need them if you're on a task. The only reason I used them is because I wasn't bringing any food with me. They're an incredibly easy monster to camp for several hours at a time very comfortably, and given they give decent experience as well, they're really not the worst monster you could camp at. So finally, just to summarise my findings from this video, I found that they have decent experience and above average if you have an arc light. They're around the average GP you'd expect for normal late game Slayer, getting around 700k an hour with average luck across 10 hours. And across those 10 hours you can expect to get 2 whip drops on average. They're very easy to AFK as well, so again they're a very decent Slayer monster. And overall, they're just a very decent monster to kill, but with more variance than a normal Slayer monster. Which means if you are going to kill them, you're going to want to do it for a much longer period of time overall, in order to get the same results as you'd get killing gargoyles or Kurasks, for example. And with all of that said though, that is it for this video, so I do hope you enjoyed and found it helpful. And as always, if there's anything else you'd like to see me cover, feel free to drop me a line down below and I will do my best to make it happen. So that's it from me. Hope you're all having a nice day and I will see you all next time. Bye guys!